it is time to polish one of the projects that are the most finished in the shop. You guys always see us building, but it's finally time to show you what all that building equals. We are about to announce something really crazy with this car, and that's why we've been working on it like crazy, and that means crazy dyno time. We've got a lot of major changes that we've done to the car, as you've seen. It should be a pretty stable day. A lot of drivability tuning, but also going for those peak numbers. This is a testament to how we've grown as people. We are driving the car to the dyno, and by God, are we driving it back from the dyno. Made it to Duarte. We're a couple feet away from Lucky 7. She's running perfectly smooth. All the fans, all the cruising, everything's fine, except now I'm realizing I've never aligned this car at all. And you hit a bump and when you have tires pointing and doing weird shit, the car just cannot, it unsettles it. It's amazing. It's actually kind of fun to know what's bad so you can continue building what's good. She's really solid. She's a little heat soaked, I think, just because everything's fully up to operating temperature, so we can't like swap the turbo exhaust housing. I'm a little concerned because this is the first time we've ever measured back pressure on this car. It's a little higher than I'm thinking, or I was hoping, and I wonder if that's because of the Corvette catback. I don't know. The dyno will tell, and we'll just extract as much power mid-range and at the very top. I think both that air vent that I have underneath the car, it has worked wonders for the radiator, and then the oil fan obviously works wonders for the oil, because sitting here, the car's not really designed well for dissipating this much heat. I even wore my OG Dahm shirt where I made only 8, maybe 10 of these just for me and my brothers. That's my good luck charm right now for having no first gear synchros anymore. If I'm in 3rd, 4th, 5th, I lose track on this shifter as to where I'm at. I don't know on this car. I'm not familiar with this gearing. Even though I've driven this car for thousands of miles now, I'm not familiar enough with the gearing to go, oh, you know what, let me drop it down to 3rd. I don't know what gear I'm in. It's really funny because the Isaiah's RX-8 looks worse than mine, and it's actually definitely more road-worthy, and it's our support vehicle. I always like stand over here just in case they have cars to move or some shit like that. All right, we made it. We are here. Car ran fairly smooth. I need to get it aligned badly. It's hilarious. You hit a little baby bump or the road twists or there's 2 uneven pavements and the car's moving, dancing, but those are the sort of problems we have now. So it's a great problem. I'm gonna go to the bathroom and then we're gonna start loading up. I found out my parking brake doesn't work. It's like 20%. So I was getting there trying to hold it with the parking brake, and it was no bueno. We both value Frizz's opinion very much, and the thing is, he's kind of like Switzerland. He never gives either of us, he maybe likes Isaiah more, but he never gives either of us too much one way or another. So I trust his answer to the question.
He's a track guy, so he's gonna have the right answer.
If he agrees with me, we're gonna say this part. Yeah, Frizz, I respect Frizz's opinion. If he doesn't agree with me, we're gonna go ahead and cut the video up and say, yeah, I don't think Frizz knows what he's talking about. So we can use either one. We have an issue. It's a lover's quarrel between Isaiah and I. Second gen, my T2, or the RX-8.
Series 2 RX-8.
On the track. wait. Now,
he has an FC, so that's kind of a hard question to ask.
I know, but it's a modified FC. It's got all the rear steer delete done, all the extra adjustable bushings. It's cambered and towed in all the right ways.
So OEM RX-8.
And you guys are driving each one, or
Yeah.
same person drives both cars?
We're gonna do both. So we're gonna have the same person drive both cars, and then we're gonna have self-drive our cars.
Well, I think the RX-8 will be easier to drive. Whoever drives that one, the RX-8 is gonna be easier to drive. It's just gonna lack power where you want
Everywhere, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think an RX-8 would be perfect with a 3-rotor?
It all depends how you mount it.
If I was to do my RX-8 with a 3-rotor, it'd be perfect, right?
I'd say so.
Wow. Okay, but I just want to point out, he said it would be easier. That's it. He didn't say better.
It is actually. It is a really easy car to drive. If we were better drivers, I think FC has more modified and would be able to probably put down a better time.
Actually, that's the best thing is neither of us are professionals. So what car can we get a better time in, and why is it going to be the 10th anniversary every time and end over end? I don't know.
Well, you will have a lot more power, and that is a big track. Button Willow, it's a huge track. Yeah. So RX-8 is going to be
will be the better one
on that track.
Okay,
Yep.
So make sure you use the first of the 2 edits.
Yeah, for sure.
What is the goal for today? Obviously, it's the opposite of riffraff. I am not trying to blow up and act like I don't know nobody.
My main goal is to blow up and then act like I don't know nobody.
The goal today is to really refine a lot of things. One is, yes, we are going for top power. I will personally be happy with over 600. We've gotten there, right close to there, but we broke the engine doing that. Learned a lot in that process. We had oil shooting in from the turbo. The turbo's oil bearing, because it wasn't capable of draining back, was just shooting crankcase oil. A lot of it into the engine. That is going to lower octane. It's a known thing. A lot of combinations, that being the first time I ever dynoed a car, ever really fully properly tuned a car, didn't know what I was expecting, and so here's a shot at redemption to take my skills a step further. So over 600 is good. Over 666 is passing. That's exactly what I would want. The exhaust may limit us. There might be other things that may limit us from hitting peak numbers. You guys will know that as we go. We'll just see where the car's happy and then see where that lands. And then I'll finally be able to do some transient throttle, just like, okay, I tip into the throttle. It doesn't go lean. It's a stock FD throttle body and all that sort of stuff. So I should be able to kind of hone that in pretty good. So that way, on our way back, which is the final goal of being able to drive the thing back to the shop, I can actually jump on it, get into boost, jump on it, get into boost, and so on. The issue with this car particular, though, is no matter what you do, because of the drivetrain, it lugs. It is a lugging situation. It's just very tall gearing for this engine. You can hear the turbo tell you how it feels about that. Just so we're gonna see that. We looked at the logs from the last time, so we'll also be able to compare the old turbo to this turbo, the old setup to this setup, and see how well it treats us. This is actually kind of cool because I can use the real dash. I don't have to fire up the laptop to speed sync this one in 4th gear at 3,000 RPM to his system. What I'm first gonna start doing is just 3,000, 3,500, 4,500, you know, like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, dyno. That's what I'm gonna be doing first, just to make sure that I'm in line. It's pretty close, but now that I'm on the dyno, I don't have to be looking everywhere. So we're gonna go ahead and do my first pull and see how it goes.
You have a dip right here.
Yeah, I feel that one. Yeah, she was dying off pretty hard at the top end. That was the car completely on wastegate springs, so we got just shy of 12 PSI. You can hear it lugging. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It certainly needs some serious love. The tune's okay. It's just a weird drivetrain. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit more, but the next pull I'll do is a couple more pounds of boost. Very straightforward at this point, but it's interesting, very interesting.
That's going good, and this is going a little bit further, but this top end fell off a little bit.
We've now basically got it cleaned up on the wastegate spring. It's a very interesting animal, but as you see, all I'm doing is trying to smooth that line out, because any of those interruptions means that there's too much fuel at a moment or too little. It's just not good for the engine. So now we're going to finally add some boost that we can build off of these base pulls. We're just slowly climbing up, pulling fuel out of the top end. This is really rich up there. Hopefully we'll get more power up there, but we're just going to keep adding on boost. This is finally my first time out of the car. I haven't looked at the dyno other than from a distance, purposely to just watch for the squiggles and to clean it up. But we had something happen at the very top end, is my ignition timing changed. It's not on my map. It's in the range of my map, but it's for some reason my ignition went like 4 degrees up advanced. So you hear this really weird thing exchange at the very top. Fortunately, everything's safe. Everything was within range. Nothing, like it didn't go lean or anything like that, so the car's fine. I didn't realize that we're already in the 560 horsepower range. I'm still in my mindset of just, okay, adding a little bit more. I haven't even started up yet.
Blue is the last one, and then green is where we're at now.
Yeah, so
The last one is more responsive.
yeah, the last setup was, it's the dual, like, true 2 runners responds insanely well compared to what we got going on. Now we got some weird freakish things going on here, but we got away from what really causes a rotary to respond, and I want you guys to see this. We're gonna make tons of power, and this car will be an amazing race car, but we might want to retool it a little bit if we're ever gonna take it on the street. But I felt this immediately. When I first started tuning the car to take it to Vegas, I was taking tons of fuel out of here because the car just wasn't making as much power because it didn't have as much airflow. I'll tell you what, this build is so much smoother than it was last time. The build, my tuning, it's all just much smoother. So that part's great, so we can focus on other issues. Our turbo is not building boost as much as the old turbo was. And so one thing is I'm purposely not having it build boost yet. Second thing is we're just gonna have to send it and see where does the turbo, if it was just let go, where does the turbo build its maximum amount of boost? Because down here it can, and it's already less responsive. So we'll see this area improve boost, which means we'll gain more power in the middle area. It's now finally time to see where our new setup shines. Everything we've been doing up to this point is like, okay, cool, we're still in the normal power band and power range, but here's where the dowels come in handy. Actually, already we're well past doweling needs range, but now we can beat on the car much harder. So I'm gonna spice it up a little bit. We're making way more power with less boost. If those people that care about that sort of shit, you can see that we made more power with less boost. I would have blown the motor right there had I not doweled the motor. I guarantee it. That went off the rails as I was hoping. A little too much. We gained a shit ton of power in the mid-band. I'm gonna clean that up real quick and then we'll go at it again. But that right there was I saved myself sort of moment.
What we did was close the wastegate to make more boost, because this thing just wants to keep on giving us boost. But look at the boost that we have now. See how much sooner that comes on?
We're finally getting into the turbo's sweet spot, and now I'm playing around with some personality of the car. It's actually, you can kind of tell what it likes and doesn't like, adjusting some timing, messing with a lot of different things. I turned the wastegate back 2% so that way I could make sure I could make a full, complete pass, because the last one was really wild. So I pulled it back a little bit. As I thought, there's my 2% of my wastegate taken out, but I was able to complete the run. Actually, how much power is this? Oh shit, 630 horsepower. What I'll do is I'll put that 2% back in and continue carrying it out. Now that we're getting to the top, maybe 1 or 2 little power pulls, and we'll see where we get. The issue I have is that the map only goes to 35 PSI on my ECU, and so then above that, I can't adjust it. I have to rework the map a little bit. slightly frustrating. Can't pull really harder than that. We'll shove everything we can into it up until that point.
There's so much boost that's going on that the caps flew off that we had, and then the back pressure sensor kind of just came off. So you can even see it right here. Look, the little cap for it came off, and it's chilling right there on top of the house. So that thing flew off. So what we're gonna do, we're just going to just loop it back against itself. So hopefully it doesn't fly off now.
Right as she was about to go wild, something blew off the exhaust side, like between the turbo and the engine, because it started making power, and then all of a sudden all my back pressure just went away. So no back pressure, no turbo juice, basically. The red is my last run, and then blues are just my old setup. But it really just gets ready to make tons of power, and then my back pressure drops off. Something leaked. It's leaking. It could be the turbo gasket. It could be something between the turbo and the engine has now opened up, and it can no longer hold over 30 psi. So we got to figure out what's going on there. Just those baby boost leaks alone are a difference of 20 horsepower. You can see right here, the green run was the one prior to this last run, and you can just tell everything was all supposed to be the same. And I even lowered the car down a little bit, and we still gained 20 horsepower before something else blew off big time after that. But do not ever let a boost leak go, okay, well, whatever. If it's after the throttle body, you have to address it. Do not keep pushing the car until you figure out your boost leaks. I'm gonna take that advice and not follow that myself, and I'm gonna go ahead and try and do this again to see where the boost leak is. Right now, we're chasing a boost leak, some sort of leak, and going through puberty too. We're doing both, apparently. That's how I have my boyish looks. No, it's either exhaust or intake, and it's hard because a turbo is a reactive system. It's two different systems. You could have a boost leak on the intake side or an exhaust side. Sometimes it's easy to tell which, but in this case, one can cause the other one to be less powered, you know? So you can't really tell exactly, but you can hear it. You guys can hear it. And it's not so easy to tell what's going on. We just tightened everything up a little bit more, checked a lot of surfaces, because it pops or it expels at like 29 psi. So it's something that holds for the most part until it bursts. So I'm gonna again try to do the same pull, but this is the reality of it. This is how you end up making really clean powers when you have all these issues squashed. This dyno session was insanely productive. We have a car, we're driving it back, we made 630 horsepower, it's fine. The problem is we've been plagued with boost leaks this entire thing. Even making 630 horsepower, which is not the peak of this car, we still had things blowing off, popping off. My tune was changing 3 to 5% on just those little nipples falling off. I don't want my nipples ever to fall off, and it could in fact blow your car. I mean, you have to run it pretty risky, but still, it shouldn't happen. So we've got a massive exhaust leak, we tightened it up, and it made it better sounding, but it still is leaking. It's way too hot. We're out of time, but we're well over 600 horsepower. We're making some beautiful power. We got a nice curve. Everything's smooth, and we get to drive home. This is a wonderful experience, but we could whoop just about any NALS motor's ass with the current setup, to be honest. We're not happy with that, but right now we've got a baby victory mixed with tons of challenges to take care of. I wanted that video to keep going more, but I wanted to explain when we finally figured out what the problem was, and my God, was it a pain in the ass. And I want this to be a cautionary tale, because what you saw on the dyno, if you go back and watch the last two pulls, you hear the engine stutter. That was a misfire or a detonation, and that happened while it was extremely rich. Anderson from Fuel Tech had told me that, hey, you can have rich misfires, and that's literally what happened on the dyno. So be careful running too rich. In this case, we figured out what the boost leak was, and it was literally a leak of the boost system. So this little guy right here, this thing's a little Mac valve, and it just does this little brrr thing to increase and multiply the wastegate spring pressure. We didn't have a problem until we went over 30 psi, or over basically double the spring pressure. The problem is right here. You can't see it, can you? There's no problem, right? even pushing these in, you can't see the problem. This fitting leaks. Inside of there, it popped this off to where it was in a little bit, but it keeps going in further, and then you can't tell if it seals or not. And I think the only mistake that we had happen with that is that we zip tied things and it didn't allow the thing to be pushed all the way in. It was very hard to diagnose because these are very slippery hoses to push them in and see if they went further. Regardless, these fittings are absolute shit. These are generic fittings. They're probably knockoff fittings, to be honest. I mean, we bought them from a reputable place, but I don't know why. Regardless, you can't visually inspect or quickly tell what's going on with that, and that's where our boost leak was, and that caused our wastegate to be able to open against boost pressure, manifold pressure, so you get this like shuddering effect, and the car was going super rich because it was getting the pressure but not the flow. Big difference between the two of those. And so we got super rich, and you see the video there. Thankfully, the car is fine. Everything is fine. Compression fires up. We're good there. But we definitely have some serious problems with the drivetrain, so we're going to deal with that later. The car's still good. I just wanted to give you guys an update as to what caused those problems. Focus on those boost pressure things. Do not continue moving any bit forward if you have fuel pressure problems, electrical problems, or boost pressure problems.